When you're buying a Rolex, the good or the bad thing is that you don't really have many options. Good in a way that you always get iconic looks. Bad in a way you have to take it or leave it. Rolex GMT Master 2 is no different, and if your options are limited to steel models, then you really only have two choices. First, being the first GMT in the Rolex catalog to offer a two-tone bezel with blue and black colors, nicknamed as Batman. And second is the variant where the color combination is a little more vibrant and contrasty of blue and red, called Pepsi. We can't quite point if it's because of the nickname of this model being Pepsi, or it being the watch on Jubilee bracelet, or the first GMT with the newer movement. But since its release in 2018, this model has never seen its market price of less than 2 times its retail price. So does it really offer 2 times the experience than its retail? Or is there something that you might be missing? If you find this video informative or helpful, please don't forget to support me by liking this video and subscribing to the channel. I don't review watches to market them, and I have no affiliations with any brands or manufacturers. I review watches independently with the freedom to say what I find, experience, and know. The strongest point when considering buying a Rolex is the history in decades of proven workmanship, reliability, accuracy, and tolerance to day-to-day beating. Rolex Pepsi is no different, and although this model is released in 2018, the history of Rolex Pepsi GMT dates back to 1955. So although with the new Pepsi GMT, we have the latest and modern stance of Rolex in the flesh of oyster steel, what we have on offer is a vintage-inspired watch with decades of history and the vibe of original model, yet the advancements from today. Rolex Pepsi was the first GMT reference to attract so high premiums from its beginning, and if we take a deeper dive into this reference, with its release, it did offer some characters that were never offered before. This was the first Rolex Pepsi in oyster steel to be offered with ceramic bezel. Before this, Rolex did release Pepsi Bezel GMT but in white gold, and as much as beautiful white gold GMT is, the flesh of gold does take away the factors of versatility and sportiness, hence the lesser desire from purists. From 1959 until 2007, Rolex watches came with aluminum bezel, and it was only in 2008 the first Rolex GMT Master with ceramic bezel was unveiled. And then it's only in 2018 the watch community saw the first Rolex in two-tone of Pepsi and ceramic bezel. Beyond the aspects of visually appealing and the attributes of never losing its color richness, the ceramic bezels are virtually scratch resistant. You simply can't scratch them unless you rub it against diamond, but they can be shattered or cracked if you drop the watch from height. The second most interesting and arguably the most exciting character that this model offered was the Jubilee bracelet. In the Rolex modern professional models range, this was essentially the first reference that was offered on a Jubilee bracelet. Typically, Jubilee bracelet has mostly remained the bracelet choice for Datejust, and the overall classy and dressy looks of 5-linked Jubilee bracelets work really well with dressy and formal watch like Datejust. GMT models were previously offered in oyster steel but with polished center links, so it's clear that they have always maintained and kept formal looks. Now with the change of oyster bracelet having polished center links with Jubilee bracelet in GMT, the aesthetics does seem to work very well, and overall the watch really hits the sweet spot, and it seems that it was always meant to be on a Jubilee bracelet. The interesting part is that while Pepsi continues to remain an extremely popular choice due to Jubilee bracelet, when you look at Batman on Jubilee, things look slightly different, especially in terms of its market demand and value. Why is it so is a topic for another time. The third strongest point with this new reference was the new movement, caliber 3285, offering 70 hours of power reserve, which is a big step up from the last movement. The movement is naturally certified to operate within +2 to -2 seconds a day, and the time accuracy is really what sets Rolex apart from the rest of the competition in mechanical movement watches. Now there is a spring drive movement that's more accurate, But if we stick with true mechanical movements, you have the winner right here. Although the movement is new, it sadly doesn't come with quick date set mechanism, meaning to adjust the date, you have to keep turning the crown to move our hand for 2 cycles to get single increment on the date. This is incredibly inconvenient and backdating, and it's not even something groundbreaking to have quick date set in GMT watch. You can actually buy GMT watches much cheaper than this Rolex GMT that will still offer you this function. And not having it available even in this new movement means that we have to live without it for at least another decade, because Rolex don't upgrade movements every other year. Now this model does command premium that's more than its actual retail price. The dial it comes in is jet black, and it's the same dial as you get in Rolex Submariner or gmt-master black dial or Batman. So there's virtually nothing extra on offer when we talk about dial. The hour markers, dial hands, and even the finish is also the same, and there's practically nothing on top that I would say would call for all the extra premium that market is willing to pay. The Jubilee bracelet does look good, but if you believe that this is the most beautifully polished or brushed bracelet in the market, that's also not quite correct. The brushing and polishing on the bracelet is fairly basic, and while it does align with the tool nature of the watch, I have to tell you that there is really not much that stands out in terms of polishing or brushing. The case back is closed, so it's already understood that there are no characters of hot horology in the movement. The case comes with polished sides and top surfaces are fully brushed. I do like the case shape, profile and overall aesthetics of the case, but the overall quality of polishing and brushing on the case are again just very good. But it does align with the polish quality we see on the bracelet and the clasp. The lume on GMT is one of the highlights, and putting the watch in darker ambience, we have beautiful blue lume on display. The lume is consistent and brightness is also very functional. All hour markers and hands have lume filled in them, while the GMT arrow also has lume. There is no lume in the bezel, which I find as the disconnect in the function of this watch. For instance, can you read the second time zone now, even when the GMT arrow is lumed? No, you can't. So in the darkness, the GMT hand is unfortunately not quite fully functional, and it is then more like an AM and PM indicator for time, unfortunately. Under the macro, the quality of polishing on the hour hand is good, and there are no scratches or dust of note, which is impressive. The minute hand also comes with decent level of finish, and there are no flaws on side. The GMT arrow shows minor scratches and the paint border shows uneven finish, and this is very typical of Rolex. The other side of GMT hand has similar paintwork at the border, and the overall finish lacks attention to detail. The seconds hand comes with reasonable finish on display, and since there are no clear flaws, I consider it as a pass. I've quoted before that the hour markers on Rolex come with very basic finish, and this is no different here. There's no intricate treatment and polishing, and surface finish is rather a little too basic. The text for Rolex and printing for crown is very crisp, and it does look beautiful. Similar is the case with the writing at the lower end of the dial, and there is no flaw to report. On the wrist, the 40mm Rolex GMT wears like an absolute Rolex dream. The modern case with beefier looks has a little more substance than 5-digit Rolex models, yet the lug-to-lug is 48mm and it is easily manageable on relatively smaller wrists. My wrist size is 6.5 inches and wristband is 55mm, and you can easily see that this GMT wears absolutely fine for me. There is no feeling that it is small or large, rather it looks just about the right size for my wrist. The lugs further contour to the wrist very well, and although they are relatively flat in the inner side, yet the smaller case means that they hug the wrist just perfectly. The Jubilee bracelet, due to its 5 links, is arguably the most comfortable steel bracelet to experience. It seems soft, and thanks to its smaller links, it conforms to the wrist even better than rubber or any other flexible straps. The bracelet comes with oyster safety or flip-lock clasp that also features 5mm extension link, which is a welcome flexibility for any wrist. There is further micro adjustments in the clasp to allow you to get that perfect fit for the bracelet. Rolex GMT-Master 2 Pepsi does have all the bells and whistles you would need in your steel sports watch. It comes in the right 40mm size, which hits the sweet spot for most of us. It is comfortable with Jubilee bracelet. Accuracy is there on top for mechanical watches. The tool watch characters are on offer, especially with ceramic bezel. And on top, it is really aesthetically a beautiful watch to look at. But is it really worth 2 times the price it retails at? Is really a paradox of time. If you really explore what else is out there in the price Rolex Pepsi goes for, you will find out that it's really not that special. The feel and finish are really basic, and it has more characters of tool watch when what you pay is high-end horology price. Let's put it this way, if this is high-end horology, why do Rolex not show the movement in the case back?